Very nice. Very, very nice.
He just can't take it seriously.
Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello, welcome to the show. First things first, please subscribe. Click the button. You know what to do.
Indeed.
It helps us out greatly, doesn't cost you anything. Secondly, please visit That Pedal Show store and buy some merch. It's how we fund the show, it's how we keep going, and we greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. We're going to be looking at some Valve overdrives today. Mick and I have been using Valve overdrives on our board recently. Mick's been using the Tube driver. I've been using the Harlot. And we've discovered a couple of things, and there's a couple of other new Valve overdrives out we wanted to have a look at. We thought, awesome.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
It's a sort of thinly veiled excuse to have a look at the Electric Lightning.
Yeah.
Chris Buck's signature pedal from Thorpy, quite exciting.
Yeah, but also to hear the Soundtank. I'm excited about that as much as anything.
In my quest to collect most of the Tubescreamers down the years, I found this, I can't even remember where, it might have been Guitar, or it might have been on Reverb or something.
Right.
I think it was 39 quid, might have been 49 quid.
Sounds amazing.
So TS5 Soundtank Tubescreamer, which of course many of you know is the best sounding Tubescreamer ever invented.
Of course. It's the plastic enclosure.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a 3 dB cut at 800 hertz is what the plastic enclosure.
Yeah.
We jest. If you're new, sorry, it's often like this. There are many other valve-driven, tube-driven, for those of you in the US, tube-driven overdrives. There's loads and loads and loads. The reason we've chosen these, Dan just said, I'm currently using the Tube driver on my board. He's currently using the Harlot on his board. The Coluna is something that every time we use it, we're like, man, that really works.
Sounds amazing.
And the two we haven't heard really are the Electric Lightning and the Space Charged from Crazy Tube.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think we're going to get into, are they running at high voltage? Do they contain other circuitry like the Tube driver does, I think? It's got op amps in it.
It's got op amp which drives the valve.
So if you want to get into that, by all means, hit up the internet. What we're interested in is what they sound like next to one another.
Yeah.
If you'll permit a slight tangent, Daniel.
I don't know.
I would like to start with something we do on experience days.
Okay.
Always does that. What we do on experience days is we get a deluxe reverb, right? And we turn it up. I'll get down to do this on the telly as well.
Okay.
Tube overdrive, right? Valve overdrive. What are we talking about? We're talking about the sound of amps cranked originally. Mm. And you might think Marshalls, you might think Tweeds, whatever amp you might think. Guess what? Just quickly.
It's just that amp. Give me 4 of those.
So what you heard there, Dan, turn the Benson bell ringer off. That too will do a lovely tube overdrive. Maybe we'll hear that on a different day. But it's just to say, look, if you can handle the volume, and I don't think we peaked at much over 100 there coming out of that.
Oh, I know.
Because it just compresses.
Yeah.
You do away for the need for 4 overdrive pedals just by using that in the volume control.
Yeah.
And there it is, lovely, clean Bakersfield, twangy Fender amp, overdriving like a good un, reminding us how much fun a decent tube overdrive is. So, perhaps to the point, that's only a deluxe reverb, right? 22 watts. That is still too loud for a lot of people. So what do? We
Get 2 of them.
we need an overdrive pedal, don't we, to get the overdrive happening at lower volume in order that we can get those lovely overdrive sounds at lower volume.
Yeah.
That's sort of where we begin.
Yeah.
If we want to approach it like that. Tube driver then?
Tube driver. So I'm really interested to hear your discoveries of this pedal as you've been deep diving into it.
Quite interesting since we've been setting up today. So if you look at the controls on the tube driver there, it's typically, I don't know about Eric Johnson, but a lot of people I know who use them will use them something like this. So relatively high output level, relatively low level of drive, and actually very modest levels of EQ.
Yeah, so the EQ on the tube driver is interesting because it's an active EQ, as in it's not cut or boost, it's always boost. So with the EQ turned down to 0, it's flat.
Oh, that explains a lot then.
There you go.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
And I use it into my 2-rock, into a classic reverb signature, and set like this, it would add massive amount of level.
Right.
It's doing less into these 2 amps today, perhaps because they're compressing a bit more.
Yeah.
But anyway, here's a quick flick through the tube driver then, kind of how I like to use it, something like this. Man, that sounds good today. It's nice and loud in here, and we got loads of reverb on, which I think is helping.
Well, the funny thing is, it's actually not that much reverb, but because the amps are being pushed, it sounds really splangy.
I love that.
Sounds awesome.
What I tried to do there was play back a bit here by the bridge, and it can sound really quite nasal and thin and twangy with the Strat, and then as you heard when I went to the neck pickup, it can be dark. The tone was down, I put it back up again. The cleanup on it is it does roll off.
Yeah.
It doesn't, there are some overdrive pedals where when you turn down on the guitar, regardless of any sort of treble bleed or any modifications to the guitar itself, it will stay nice and bright. That doesn't stay bright, it goes off a bit, but it kind of goes off in a way that I like.
Right.
Because if you're turning down just to sit under a vocal, for example, removing some of that high end can be really good.
That's a really good point. I know we digress, but the idea...
Welcome to that pedal show.
That idea that every time you turn down on the guitar, you want it to stay really bright. It's not necessarily always awesome.
Horses for courses, isn't it?
Indeed.
I'll get down just to have a quick play before we move on to the Harlot, and I'll mess around with the controls a bit. As you can see, the drive is very low.
Yeah.
What it's actually doing, and this is really important because one of the topics that will come up for discussion in the comments for sure is this hard dichotomy between pedal overdrive and amp overdrive.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case. These two things are working in harmony with one another.
Absolutely.
So because it's loud, it's pushing the amps a little bit into overdrive, plus it's adding overdrive of its own. It's not an either or thing, it's definitely
working
a symbiosis.
Yeah, for sure.
In any case, we'll start, what you'll notice is Dan's telly will push it way harder than the Strat does.
thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Stick a fork in you.
Stick a fork in me.
You're done. I don't think I've ever turned the tube. Well, obviously I have, but in actual usage, I've never turned the drive up that much. But as long as the bass is off, actually holds together pretty well.
Yeah, really does sound
Shall we
magic.
quickly get into the Harlot so that we don't forget what that's sounding like?
Sure.
Keep going in. So you hear just how radically different these two guitars sound.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, me and Dan are on the end of them, and we sound very different as well. But a huge part of that is one of the things I really, really love about Simon's pedals in general is the clarity with which the instrument comes through.
Yeah.
A little bit of cleanup at the end there. Can you just test the cleanup on the telly? I know you were doing that while you were playing, but just listen to it specifically for a second.
Sure.
Deluxe reverb going, I've still got you, I've still got you. Yeah, so to my ears anyway, Harlot much more natural sounding.
Yeah.
To pick a word.
Yeah.
Preserves the character of the guitar a lot better than the tube driver does.
Yeah. But the tube driver has its thing.
Yeah.
And that thing is extraordinary. But this is the strangest thing, you know, because we had the Harlot on a show. I mean, that's the old version of the Harlot. And we had it on a show a while ago, and I remember going, I was all into the page then and to the mid-range. But that thing is so neutral. Yeah, and I've just flippin' fallen in love with it. It's
lovely
great.
wide range of gain available.
Massive.
Plenty of output levels. So if you wanted to run it much lower gain and much higher output for a solo lift, for example, will be fine. The mode button is just high-end response, is it?
A different high-end response, different gain level as well. So
let's just have a quick listen to that then.
It's like a presence control.
Yeah, or for want of a better description, almost like when you remove all the negative feedback. It's
yeah. That presence thing, yeah.
Really killer, but yeah, nice. Okay, space charged, crazy tube circuits. People who love this really love it, and I would say it's not massively well known.
Yeah, they're so funny, man. Their stuff. Never played a crazy tube circuits pedal. I didn't think it sounds awesome. I want to go to Athens and just because who's in Athens? There's Jam, there's Cicalis, crazy tube circuits, and
many other, probably others.
Yeah,
the Dreadbooks.
Something in the water.
Are they Greek?
In over there, but they know how to make good pedals.
Cool. So with this one, everything's totally self-explanatory on the Kingsley and the Tube Driver because everything is visible. Same as here, except we've got a couple of extra switches plus a switchable boost.
Indeed.
Do we think the boost is pre?
I think it's pre.
Yeah. Which is going to be in common with the Electric Lightning. So I'll just start mucking about. If the boost is pre, the pedal's got a crazy amount of headroom.
Yeah.
Because that was the volume lift from the boost pre seems unlikely to me. But
Yeah, it's got it's got gain in it as well, so I think it is.
okay,
But I'll have to double check.
it's yeah, man.
Isn't that cool?
For a limited feature set, I immediately took it out of the fat and into the tight because the bass coupling of the 2 amps, you just get too much bloat in that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like 100 to 200 bloat area.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely scoops that out a bit, so you get more note definition, especially into a smaller amp that's cranked. Now, if you're playing at low volume and your amp is not really working that hard, you might find that fat setting works a lot better because it's not flubbing out, the speaker's not flubbing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, how have we not found this before?
I don't know. Sorry, it's awesome.
Yeah. And also, sorry, I meant to check that it is actually the current version. I know it's been updated a couple of times over the years.
Oh, okay.
So I hope it's the current version, and if it's not, apologies.
Yeah, beautiful.
Flipping heck, man.
Yeah. Well, 3 for 3.
Yeah. And obviously I'm playing humbuckers because he's got single coils. Normally I would play the Strat, but it would be...
We can swap, but I can do humbuckers in a sec.
It's fine.
I wanna hear
It's remiss of us not to have humbuckers and singles. Electric Lightning then.
Electric Lightning.
Okay.
So, Chris Buck, a collaboration between Chris Buck and our dear friend Adrian Thorpe from Thorpy Effects. Chris made it sound amazing. So let's see if we can do a halfway decent job.
When he came on the show. Similar kind of setup to the Space Charged in that you've got the main drive section and a boost in front of it.
Yeah, and the boost is the boost on the Dane. So it got the bass control and it enables you to tighten up the bass control with the bass frequencies, and it's pre the drive circuit.
Yeah, so you're boosting into it in exactly the same way that we've got the Tubescreamer set up to do it there.
Yeah.
Right then, Donald, here we go.
That's going to stick now.
Sorry, I've started calling Daniel Donald. I don't know why.
My goodness. Right. The mids in that sits in a really different spot.
Yeah.
And it just... Try it with it. I really want to hear it with that before I say too much. Wow. So you know what it reminds me of? Chris has that singing thing on the guitar.
Yeah.
Right? And that vocal frequency thing is really important. That's in there.
Yeah.
So when you're playing, I mean, as fat as you like, but when you're playing that single line thing, it blooms in a really, really cool way.
Yeah, I know Chris doesn't really play Strats anymore.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen him play a Strat in ages.
But I think where those mids might come in are where you want clarity and fattening in single coils. Obviously, he's got P90s in his Yamaha Revstar. In any case, let's see. Sorry, messing around quite a lot there. Just in contrast to the tube driver especially, preserving the high end of the single coil turned down, which I guess is the place where Chris lives.
Yeah.
And maintaining that glassy edge, which is so important to a lot of Strat players, in the same way that, slightly different context, but if you think about how Andy Timmers uses his blues driver, so it stays clean when you turn it down.
Yeah.
The temptation, obviously, is to stampede for all the gain in the world, but these things have other uses, and that is a really nice one. Just fattening, maintaining that glassy on the edge of the Strat, if that's what you want. I like it for that in a big way because the mids,
that mid thing,
makes it fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's epic.
Sorry, did you want to?
I just wanted to hear it quickly with the SG.
Oh dear, Dan! What a shame.
Ah, interesting.
You go. Oh, I'm going to feel this tomorrow.
Yep. Clarity.
Clarity is what I was
Clarity.
going for. Yeah. So all the others sound more bloated in comparison.
Yeah.
And at low volume, when you're at home or whatever, that fatness in the others is going to be really impressive and you're going to love it and you're going to go, oh, I love all this bottom end. And then when you get in the band, it's like, nah, doesn't work. You need to scoop so much of it out in order to get out the bass player's way and to main clarity. And the Electric Lightning is right there.
Incredible.
It's right there as its kind of core tone. Definitely hear that in a mix.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Amazing.
Yeah. And not too much gain.
No. It has enough gain, like, and it's usable right all the way through, but it's not like you're going between 2 and 3, trying to find that sweet spot where 3 is too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Like the variance off the SG particularly was great.
Yeah.
You know, you held back a bit and it was sounding clean, and we heard that it maintained the sparkly on the Strat, but then you dig in and it's like, oh, there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
Very cool.
Really nice. Okay, Coluna then. every time we plug this in, we're like, why don't we use that more? Because it always
sounds great.
Always sounds killer. Let us then, Daniel, stampede to the Coluna.
Doesn't that sound great?
That chunk on the front of the note where you dig in with your pick is like a needle in the arm for you, isn't it?
Oh,
You're like, you just can't get enough of it.
No. But when the sound is right for it and the guitar is right, it's like, it's manna from heaven. It really is. Just, come on. It's awesome.
So there was a quick flick through all the pedals there. What we heard was that the tube driver was by far the woolliest and least interesting sounding to my ears anyway. I whacked the treble up higher than I've ever whacked it up before.
Right.
Certainly subjectively the worst sounding of the bunch by a mile, because I think all the others have got so much more clarity, and note definition and all of that. And it is subjective, because do you want that?
Yeah.
But the Coluna stands up yet again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really great. There's not a dud in them. They all have different things. The Harlot is, like for the rock thing, the Harlot is fat and clear. The Space Charged has got the fat and thin switch will be invaluable depending on the rig that you're running, and that boost.
But even it was set in its tight setting there.
Yeah.
And that was still had more flub to it than the than the Electric Lightning by some.
Yeah, but I think they all have more flub than the Electric Lightning. The Electric Lightning is voiced for clarity.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of Chris, the way he plays, because he needs that. His style is so vocal, and he needs that to stand out in front. And it has that. It's beautiful. But the Coluna, again, it's the safest pair of hands.
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It does feel that way. But there's something about the Harlot I just can't get away from in the way that it, I don't know, it almost feels like the least coloured.
Yeah, right.
In a way.
Yeah. Well, that's Simon, isn't it?
They all have that thick mid-range thing going on. Okay, so you got to pick one. Which one are you picking?
I'm going to go Electric Lightning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's between the Coluna and the Tube Driver for me, even though subjectively the Tube Driver is the worst sounding of the lot. Because of what it does, because of the squash, because of that's what I want it to do.
Yeah, right.
What I want to do finally is, how much better is it than a TS5 Tubescreamer? It's an utterly ridiculous question to ask, right? So let's ask it. So you're going to get a sound up on the Electric Lightning.
Okay.
And we'll see how the Soundtank TS5 Tubescreamer can compare. Why not, you know?
Absolutely.
Why buy a Tube Overdrive pedal
Sure.
when that costs 49 quid on Reverb?
Nice. Okay.
Might be a question you have. Thank you, Bognor Regis. Good night. I don't know. I think that was all on at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was all on at the end. Yeah. I don't know. Tubescreamer sound pretty good to me.
Tubescreamer is awesome.
But it does rather underline why a slightly more refined Tube Overdrive, clarity, definition,
You can hear the
harmonics.
You can,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that thing you're talking about before about it holding together, the Electric Lightning does that for me. As you know, it sounds awesome.
Cool. There you go. Hopefully put all those pedals in context for you and gave you an idea of maybe if a Valve Overdrive is something that you'd be interested in and what you might use it for.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is the Tube Driver the worst sounding, it's also the most pedalboard unfriendly.
Is it the most expensive of the bunch?
Nah.
No? Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what they are new, but I think I paid 200 for it second
Oh,
hand.
okay. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. Actually, let's just finish on that. I think Thorpy and Chris got a bit of negativity for the price of the Electric Lightning. I think it's $429 or something.
Right.
But if you think you can manufacture something in the UK or any modern tertiary sector economy with tubes and sell it and pay people fair wages and give them things like holidays, sickness pay, all the things that, you know, maybe exist in in these sorts of workplaces that might not exist in other kinds of workplaces, you're on crack, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult thing to do.
To make something in the UK and sell it for that, for anyone to say is expensive, I think is just a complete loss of any sort of realistic view of how things work. Now, it might be expensive compared to something that's sourced elsewhere, but
Yeah.
that's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and that that was a year working on that, going back and forth between him and Chris, and
Yeah.
it was toured.
Yeah.
And changes were made, and the
Chris eats a lot
development
of
costs,
caviar.
It's
It's
so
a lot,
much, so much
diamonds,
Yeah,
things to buy.
that's why he lost all his weight. It's that caviar diet that's been on for the last 12 months. It's amazing. Yeah.
Good. I kept saying the Tube Driver is the worst sounding of the bunch. I'm half joking. Be interested to hear what you think in the comments. Which one did you like best? Which one did you like the least? Because it's all subjective at the end.
Completely.
Yeah. Very nice.
Brilliant. That was fun.
Will a Tube Overdrive be staying on your pedal board?
Absolutely.
Me too.
Absolutely.
As part of the mix.
Yeah. It's very cool. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Massive thank you to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and bought some merch. We've got t-shirts and hats and effects pedals and scarves and toe rings and lint magnets and those things that you keep when you dry to fluff up your clothes. We've got TPS branded versions of those as well. Get in there, check it out.
Some of the above may be true. Yes, and please check out our exclusive preferred retailers in the links below. It's all in the description. Lots of interesting information there. Please go there. Thank you to our patrons on Patreon.
Thank you so much.
We are amazingly grateful for your support, monthly giveaways, blah, blah, blah. More sales messages here. We'll see you next time.
Brilliant. Cheers, bye.